Thanks also very much, a new life choir. That's wonderful. God bless you and do you good as you continue in the good work. Yes, once again, this is Matalo TV coming to you live from our studios. It's my hope and trust that the Lord has kept you well. And be reminded that I've always said that this is the day that the Lord has made and we must rejoice and be glad in it. Yes, once again, we are on our topic. A call to the hurting man. The topic is why the boy child is growing weak by the day. We've tried to answer various questions, and today we are going to embark on the same. And be reminded that we have always discussed a man as composed of 6 pillars, namely that he is a leader, he is a provider, a heart protector, he must be hardworking, a counselor, and a priest in his own capacity. And so every man needs to understand all that, such that they may be able to become true men in their society and also in their families. And by doing so, we'll also have a strong leadership in our governments. And so this day, just allow yourself to listen to whatever I'm going to release to all of us. And I've always suggested to us that let you not just keep this information to yourself, but spread this information to many, because the world is full of cries. I mean, the boy child is losing it from every side, and we are also losing them at a very high rate. So we must do something in our days and time such that we may be able to redeem the boy child from the miseries. And so before I get started, allow me to switch to the other side of the studio, even as I give us some chance to prepare ourselves with some good notebook and some good pen from where to write. And I know it shall be well. I promise that we will not frustrate, we will not disappoint, but we will give you the best. And so welcome every mama, every man around, brothers and sisters. Let's all of us join hands and fight this battle together. Please get this number from the other side of the studio. Thanks also very much, our sister Eriza. I hope tomorrow you're doing well. God bless you for your sweet song. I like your song. Yes, once again, let's gather together and let's educate one another on how best to handle the boy child. And also be reminded that as a father, as a mentor, I'm also very much careful on how we bring up our girl child. So we'll be tackling on all such areas, and I believe at the end of the day, we must get the best solution out of this. I'll just a review of what has been happening. We've been able to discuss the 6 stages of leadership, And now we are on the second stage, that is the stage of provision. Now, in the first stage, or in the first bracket, whereby we discussed leadership, we said that we must train our sons to understand what we call individual leadership, whereby one is trained on how to stand on their 2 feet, leaning not on the left or on the right, and being able to walk their talk. Because leadership is not about theories, it's not about being a good orator, it's about being able to walk the talk. And you can bear me witness that we have so many orators today who cannot match what they say. So that is not leadership. Leadership, you only qualify to become a true leader when you are able to walk your talk. Number two, we train our sons to understand the leadership, the family leadership. Now, first and foremost, the leading of the wife. We introduce our sons into the lives of the girl child. We train them to understand girl child. We train them to understand the differences between the boy and the girl. And we also introduce them to this kind of leadership whereby they are now moving from individual leadership and extending their scope of leadership to be able to incorporate their wives to be in their leadership. And we take them into that process until they mature into that. Remember, it is one thing to start and to hear of what is supposed to be done, but it is another thing to nurture that information inside of you until you mature to that kind of an anointing. So it is not a 2 days thing. It's not some memories to be. It's not some memory verses that you memorize and you walk away with. No, it's something that you train yourselves to walk through until you mature to that anointing. And it's a process, and I've said again and again that sometimes a process will take much time than expected, and sometimes processes are very painful and so disheartening, and also very with a lot of discomfort. So this is not something that will excite many, but to those who are out to bear the pain and to pay the right price, they will become true leaders, not only in their families but also in the society, and globally they will be recognized as strong leaders. Now, having said that, we also bring them to the third stage whereby we introduce them to understand how to raise up their their little babies until they mature, because parenting is also very important, and it must be introduced to the father to be, such that when they get to that stage of marrying and siring children, they will not be confused on how to raise their sons and daughters. So they are introduced to parenting, and parenting carries with it some 2 stages. Now we bring the first stage from 0 age to 18. These days it's 13, 14 because times are changing, and so we introduce these fathers to be into proper parenting, and we ground them on that such that we prepare them ahead of time not to be messed up by what will come their way, but to be able to handle what will come their way. Now, when it comes to 13, 14, or in those olden times, 18, now we also now prepare them to be able to handle these grown-ups. Because at that stage they start to realize themselves, and they start to discover themselves, and they are very inquisitive. They want to know many things. They want to discover many things, and so they are trained to understand them from that position, such that they may not lose them when they come to that stage. And I've always suggested to parents, because I know there are so many parents who are undergoing many things and many challenges, that that kind of an information you release to them, it may look delayed in transforming them, but that information, I mean, you must understand, will die with them. They cannot escape that information. They may not appreciate the information at the first time, but with the time, because it comes from the Father, it has authority in it. That information will trouble them until they come back to their senses. So don't die up because they are getting rebellious. But remember this, as long as it has come from the Father, some days that authority will turn them and will change them and will transform them. The Father's voice has command and has power to change and to direct. So don't give up speaking to them. Don't give up cautioning them. Don't give up training them in proper discipline. Continue telling them. They may, I mean, because of time and nature of their age, sometimes they rebel. Sometimes they look you down. Sometimes they will think they know better than you. But keep pumping the truth in them. Some days when they grow when they outgrow the foolishness, they will understand why the Father was so concerned about them and why the Father was giving them those words and those kind of instructions. Don't give up on them. There are some days that information will change them. Now, from there, we introduce them to what we call social life, whereby we train them to understand that we are social beings who are meant to socialize, and for all of us to make anything out of this world, we must learn how to relate with one another, because the victory you need today is with somebody else. The connection you need in your life is hidden in somebody else. The progress that you need to see in your vision, in your dreams, carries with other people, or other people have what it takes to make your dream bigger and to make your dream better. And so we train them the dangers of drawing back, or the dangers of pulling away from social matters, because anytime they start to pull away from social matters, they hinder their progress, and they hinder also the discovery of the potential they carry within themselves. Many may give some reason as to why it is happening like this, but time is the best judge. With the time and with the proper information, they will realize, though some may waste time, but at some point of age, they will realize what they are wasting or what they are missing in their lives, and they will recuperate from the same and come back. So continue giving them the information. They may disagree with it today, but tomorrow it will benefit them. They may fight it today, but tomorrow it will be a sweet medicine to them. So continue encouraging them, continue telling them the truth. Truth doesn't always excite. Truth sometimes is very painful. It's a bitter herb, but nobody has the power to fight the truth. You may fight it today, but truth will remain and will stand firm. So continue, fathers and mothers, encouraging them and telling them the truth, even when they don't want to hear it. But sometimes, because they have heard it with their ears, some days it will change them. Now from there, we also bring them to understanding religious leadership, because it's also another area whereby we have lost so many people and potential people, because a majority think that when we get saved, we do away with the things of the world and we wait to go go back home. That's foolishness. It doesn't work that way. If God needed you in heaven the day you got saved, he would have taken you home that day. But God allows you to remain, to do things differently and to do things with understanding. That's why God allows us to remain when we get saved, because we are now transformed to transform. So that is also very important. And we also teach them that we don't forfeit our duties and our responsibilities, but we get back to our senses and correct our mistakes and start doing things in the right order. Now from there, we also teach them and introduce them on how to handle riches and wealth, how to handle finances, because this is another uphill task. It's and so many people think that it's very easy to handle money and to spend money. Little do they know that they are handling, an untamed beast that can devour them any time. So we need to prepare them ahead of time before they are destroyed by this beast called money and wealth. Before they are destroyed, we prepare them ahead of time, and we show them how to handle money, how to spend money, how to conquer the power of money, and how to rule over money. Because if you don't know the fourth stages, you'll be mishandled by money, you'll be spent in a bad way by money, and you'll also be oppressed by money, and you'll be ruled by money, and you'll die a desperate person. So before you get into your own destruction, we teach you how to handle resources and all manner of wealth. So from there, we now come to what we call provision, the stage of provision. That is now what brings us to this stage of provision. And I've always said, because it is important, that I repeat this again and again until it sinks into our heart. As long as it's the head information, it will not do much. But once we are able to transfer the head knowledge into heart knowledge, now we start to transform as we transform others. And so provision, we start by saying, according to 2 Timothy chapter number 5 and verse 8, that anyone who does not know how to provide for their relatives, and especially them that are of their household, they have denied the true faith, and they are worse than unbelievers. And I like what King James says, that they are worse than an infidel. And so if you don't understand that you are meant to provide as a man, you are sitting on a timed bomb, but you are pretending you don't know you are sitting on such. So it is a command of God that a man realizes that they are providers. Yes, it is not a choice. It is by the order of God. And I've said it again and again. It's not a choice. It is by the order of God. And let me challenge young men who are looking for those rich women to marry. Let me tell you, you are just a daydreamer. How do you think you'll handle a woman who is stable and who has gotten all she needs in life, and you think you are going to marry them and conquer them and rule over them? You are mistaken. And from today, let me just be open with you. You are a slave in that house, and you remain a slave until you face your grave. That is the truth of the matter. And if there are people who are lying to you, you are driving a good car, you don't know, you are just foolish in what you are doing, and you need to wake up and find some wisdom, because if you lack wisdom, you will perish. So I know I've spoken tough, but I want our young men to understand the mistakes they are making, because we have a generation of young men who doesn't want to get tired, who doesn't want to go and labor for what they are eating, what they are putting on. They want to be spoon-fed. It doesn't happen. It is not a reality. It is not realistic, and you need to wake up from your slumber and start thinking soberly. So let me just come to the point here. Now, we have a cluster of men these days who do not understand this theory that provision is also part of leadership. You cannot lead a people that you cannot provide for. that is given, and you should know it from today, that you can never lead a people that you cannot provide for. So if you're not ready to provide for that family, please think twice before you engage. So you only command respect, and you only command submission from them that you are leading, because you are able to provide for them. And these days we have fathers who just walk home empty-handed, or holding a newspaper in their hands, and they're expecting that their wives will come out smiling, children will come out hugging them. No, it doesn't work that way. I always tell people, can you allow me to put it in Kiswahili? Jina baba hununuliwa. It's very expensive to become a father. It's very expensive to become a father, because a father will only be known to his wife and children because of what he's providing. If you lose connection through provision, you lose respect and you lose submission. They will not submit to you. And so, if you want to conquer in that level of leadership in provision area, know from this day that it is dangerous to walk home empty-handed. It is also dangerous to walk home and with assumption that all is well and you have not contributed anything. That one is so serious. So men and fellow men, wherever you are, I don't know, I don't care whether you are pastor, a bishop, I don't care whether an evangelist, an apostle, that is your title. But you have to remember you have a responsibility. You have a duty to serve your family. Now listen to this and listen carefully, that it is important to understand that every woman you see around, they hurt so much when they start to feed you as a man. When you start relying on them for whatever bills you have, it pains every woman, whether saved or not saved. And I remember I've said in the past that if you want to be messed up by a woman, let you fail in the area of provision. She will talk ill of you in the church. She'll talk ill of you in the neighborhood. Her friends will know you and know the bad side of you. She will talk ill of you to her friends. She will talk ill of you in the church, everywhere. And above all, she will make sure that your reputation in her family is totally damaged. So get to understand these things. Yes, I'm talking out of experience. I have the experience with me, and any man who knows what I'm talking about, they can bear me witness that it is not easy to contain a woman of whom you cannot provide for. And all women around, and that you see around, they hurt so much when a man starts to rely on them. And if a man must rely on them, be assured they are taking advantage, or maybe they are misusing you only to drop you when you are so useless for life. So don't get excited. My wife provide food for me, provide shelter for me, provide for the children. She pays the bills. You don't know what you're doing, and you need to be educated. Otherwise, you are losing that game from day one to the last day. I also said that if you want a woman to talk well of you, know how best to feed her, to clothe her, to feed her children, to take care of her children, to clear the bills, and also to provide her with a shelter, that is, building for her a good house. That woman, when they start to testify, they'll make sure that in their testimony they mention you. Wherever they find themselves and wherever they find an opportunity to talk, they will talk well of you. And be reminded, I've always said again and again that provision in this level provision has two levels when we come to providing for a wife. Yes, the first provision is when you're able to feed her stomach. And be reminded she has another stomach or another belly that need careful attention, or needs a lot of attention, or requires a lot of attention. And that is where we talk about conjugal rights. Now, if you starve her in her conjugal rights, let me tell you, just the same way she'll mess you when you deny her the right provision, she'll also mess you in the same. That is very true, and get it from a mentor and a father. When you cannot satisfy a woman in her conjugal rights, you are out for destruction. You'll be destroyed. Yes. Now, to women also, let me just educate you a little bit here. Now, as much as you'd like men to satisfy you sexually, you must also consider what you feed them. Because you cannot feed them with white rice, white ugali, white ugali, and meal, bread, and all manner of starch, and expect that there will be performance in the bed. It can't work that way. It is high time that you train your men on what food to buy, because protein is needed so much in this game, and you are feeding them on starch and you're expecting them to produce protein. What do you think will come out of it? So many men are also in this great mess because of what they are being fed of their women. So it is also high time that we join our efforts together, men and women, and discuss what manner of diet we need to bring on our table, such that we will also increase in our performance. Men, I know you are listening to me and you are following me. If your wife cannot do so, please make it your duty to buy those proteinous food and those energy-giving food and bring her to cook for you. Yes, it is important. And I know to the Kenyans, man, we have Uji Power. Make sure that you pay visit to those to those hotels where they sell Uji Power, and build up yourself, because the journey is so long ahead of you. The journey is tough, and it's not easy. I don't want to promise nobody that it is easy. It isn't easy. Yes, that is according to our setup as African. We know what food that we must eat and become a better man in that other area. So that was by the way. Now, it is also important to understand that it is the duty of every man to give their wives love. It is not the other way around. Now, we have a generation of people today, and I don't want to blame nobody here, because it is the kind of upbringing that they are coming from, and that's why they cannot understand many things. Because if you don't get a well matured mentor, you cannot also get going in this. You cannot become a better person in this. So you need to to allow yourself to be mentored, and you also need to allow yourself to be given some instruction on how to go about these things, because nobody knows it all. We are limited in all areas. I also don't know everything. There are areas I need to be helped. There are areas that I need people to hold my hand and show me the way. So I don't know everything. Now, this is something that all men should get to understand, that it is the duty of every man to provide love for their wives. Because if you don't know that, you'll always demand that she loves you back. Yeah, it's good to appreciate your love, but the command of our God is that a man loves his wife. Now, what does the Bible say in Ephesians chapter number 5 and verses 25? That men, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave his life for the same. So it is important that you understand the mystery behind all this. It is in the command of God that you men love your wife. Now, what is the mystery hidden in all this? God, in his wisdom, knew that if the man would stand his position to provide love for his wife, he will provide for her. It is the one who loves that provides. Number two, if a man who stand his position to love his wife, he will take care of her. Number three, if a man who stand his position as a man to provide love for his wife, he'll also protect her. Yes. Number four, if a man who stand his position as a provider to provide love for his wife, he will give everything for her. In other words, Christ gave out his life for the church. And the true love gives everything towards the one that you love. And I remember when we were young people and when we were dating young girls, even in the rainy season, we would remove our jackets and give them as we get rained on, giving it all. And sometimes I laugh at myself, because those that we suffered trying to tell them that we love them, we never married them. It was just an excitement. It was just a journey of exciting one another. We never married each other, but that's life. So, but I'm only trying to remind us, the men and women who can understand those many years back there, that we would buy chips for the girl, and you would pretend that you had your lunch while you are asking God, what will happen after this, because it's like I feel like I'm fainting. You have nothing, but you have given up everything you have just to make sure that this girl feels that she's loved. You buy her Terino. That was our time. Terino was what we would call Fanta today, and we would buy them Terino and what? So, I mean chips, and you see, as much as it is hurting, you are giving it all. You have nothing in your pocket left, but you are giving it all to her. Now listen to this. True love, give it all. So it is important that we educate men to understand all this. So from today, don't you demand that your wife love you, but give her love as a provider. God has given you so much love in you, but you needed somebody to educate you that you are the source of that love. She is not the source of that love. Now, to her, God commands that she submits. And the mystery here is that anytime you are able to stand your position and do the right thing, everything else aligns. You don't force issues, you don't force things, but you find everything else aligning. So submission to her is not an issue, as long as she has found a true leader in provision and in other areas. But now that one tells us that she will not be disturbed and she will not be moved, and she will submit without being put on some conditions. Now, from there, we must understand that it is important that every man understand that it is important that they not only provide love for their wives, but they should also provide love for their children. Yes, men should also provide love for their children. Now, children develops courage when they find a loving father. And children also develops fear when they don't find a loving father. These two things are very important that you get to understand them. The children becomes, grow strong and courageous when they find a father who is able to provide them with true love. But they develop a lot of fear when they don't find a true father who will provide for them true love. Yes, and I know, may God help all of us because a majority of us, I remember I've always said that I'm trying to intervene in like 5 generations of men who have not been mentored. And these things that I teach us, it is God who revealed to me many of these things. I don't want to go into details, but what I talk to us, I cannot boast. I cannot take credit on this. I know it is God who opened up my mind to understand, and that's why I give it freely to people, because I was given freely by God, and I should give it freely to you. Yes, listen to this and listen carefully. We were not brought up by fathers who knew how to love us. No, we were scared. We were terrified. They cost us so much. And you know one thing, a hurting person hurts others. That is the reality. So we have gone through generations, hurting generations. So we have hurt one another, one generation after the other. So a hurting person hurt others. So we've been hurting one another from one generation to another generation. But I thank God because our sons now have an opportunity to change. We messed up, but our sons must not go our direction. They should not go the wrong way. Now that God has given us this information, our sons need to learn from this. The fathers who have the opportunity to watch me, you have an opportunity now to learn from this. We never got it in our generation. The generation that were before us never got this. But God, in His own mercies, in His own love, and in His own timing, has given us these revelations such that we may heal the coming generations. So I caution our sons such that they may not go the way we went. We lost the way, but they should find the way back because they have the information with them now. I wish I was introduced to this when I was growing up. I wish I found somebody who would train me to understand this. But I will not neglect because I'm also healing from the same, and God is a God of justice. He knows how best to give us justice. And so our sons and daughters, nobody should excuse themselves that they don't have what it takes to becoming true fathers and true mothers in their near future. So don't go back to our mistakes. But from today, understand that it is the duty also of a father to give their sons and daughters true love. But we must also choose to forgive them, because I know there are people who are listening to me and they are cursing their fathers and they are saying, may they go to hell. No, they will not go to hell. You need to understand that it is not their failures, it is not their mistakes. They found themselves in the mess. And what do you expect somebody who is in the mess? Now they will spread the mess to others. That's why I've just started by saying a hurting person will hurt another. So fathers have hurt their children, and it is time that people reconcile. Children reconcile with their fathers. Fathers reconcile with their children, because it was a mess that was introduced into generations. So we don't stand any ground to blame one another, but we stand a ground to correct our mistakes and move ahead. That is very important. So once a child finds a loving father, they grow strong and courageous. Number two, they don't, shrink when times are hard. That one is very key. They don't shrink when times are hard, because love is a pillar. Can I say it again? They don't shrink when times are hard because love is a pillar. Yes, love is a pillar. And anytime they find themselves in hard times, they remember my Father loves me. So, and I just want to borrow from this. When we were growing up, we had this mentality in us: nobody can beat my Father. And it is obvious all over the world, children would believe nobody can beat their father. Now, if they had such a belief, if we had such a belief when growing up, now what would happen when a child knows for sure that their daddy loves them? Let me tell you, they cannot shrink in any manner of opposition. They cannot shrink when times are hard. They stand tall at all times. That is very important. They stand tall at all times. Can I show you something that is so hidden? Did you know that our God is a loving God? Did you know that God himself as a man is love? He is just composed of love. And that's why we are sustained even when we are so wicked in our ways. Because when love covers a multitude of sin. So I'm saying, now that we have come from God the Father as man, and he has given us this mandate to copy from him, and he has put the pillar in us, we must understand from today as men, now that the first man, our God is love, and God, the nature of God is to love. You must understand now as the man of whom God created in his likeness and image, you need to understand from today you have no good reason as to why you should not love. I only know that you were not introduced to this truth, but from this moment, the first creator, the man who created the world and the heavens and the world, is full of love. That is his nature, and he has remained a loving God even this day. So every man who was created in his likeness and image must also understand that we have to reciprocate the same into our generation. But the information was so hidden from us for many generations and for thousands of years, such that we have been struggling to understand ourselves in this level of life. So today, I know you are getting it and you are understanding it better. So when a child is exposed to true love, you give them the power to express themselves. Write that one down to those that are writing. When you give a child true love, you give them the right to express themselves. You don't mishandle them. Yes, they understand themselves. When a child is given true love by the father, the father is only giving this child the power to express herself or himself. Now, listen to this and listen carefully. You don't know how powerful the love can be. As long as you know you are loved of the Father, as long as a child knows that they are loved of the Father, they can move any mountain, they can cross any valley, because there is a force behind them that is telling them, I am there for you. I love you. Now, let me just borrow from what happened at Calvary. Now, when Jesus went out to pray, and it's like the cup was so heavy for him, he prayed, if it is your will, my Father, remove this cup from me. Not my will, but your will. Why is it that Jesus had the courage to face the cross? It's because he knew the Father loved him, and the Father cannot forsake him even when hanging on the cross. That is how powerful the love of a father can be. When a son or a daughter realizes that their father loves them, I'm telling you, they'll cross over valleys, They will climb up the mountains. They will go down the valleys, and they will survive any storm of life that comes their way. So that one is also very important. And I wish my sons and daughters, wherever you are listening to me, and you are ready to change from the past. Because I know many are hurting, but if you receive the right information, that information has power to transform you. That information has power to build you up again. That information has power to make you recuperate from the wasted years. So take heart and tell yourself, I've heard it from a father and I'll learn with it. Let me tell you, as you do it that way, your life will change for better. Your life will change for better. And you'll also become a better father in your time. In your time and season, you will become a good father to your sons and daughters. And I've just said it. I wish the kind of information that God has given me is what I found with my father. I wish that this kind of an information that God has put into my heart is what I found with my father. But I will not neglect, because God in his own time and season, he knew that he raised a voice in the world to bring back sanity in the life of the fathers and in the lives of their sons and daughters. So that one is also very important, that we understand that God in his own time and season is bringing back sanity in the lives of fathers, sons, and daughters. So it is important that every father who is listening to me understand that this information is vital to the growth of their sons and daughters. Provide love for your sons, provide love for your daughters, and you create a great nation. You'll create a great family, and you create a great generation that will leave a legacy and a great mark in the land. Yes, I know I've given you so much, and you have listened to me from wherever you are. And because this is a tough lesson, and every one of us need to hear all this, I don't want to rush us into this process, but I want to walk with you gradually into this process until all of us get it. People may ask, why do you repeat so much what you have said in the past? I repeat because this is a new information in the world, and it has to be repeated again and again until it turns from the head knowledge into the heart knowledge. And so I cannot get tired of repeating it again and again. I must continue doing this until I mentor others who learn with this information, until I mentor men who also learn with this information and teach others. I cannot do it all alone, but with the help of you and others, we can make this world a better world. And so, next time, I'll continue from there. Remember, we have crossed at this point. It is the duty of the father to provide love for his children. That's where we have stopped, and I know I have been able to elaborate on the same, and you have gotten where we went wrong, or you have gotten where the rain started beating us. And so from today, take this information. My son who is watching me, take this information, and don't you get mad with your father. He has no idea. And please don't be judgmental on your father. He has no idea. We are learning this this new information, and we must spread it to all people, and we must make all people understand where we lost the way. And after that, we recover and find our way back. So don't blame nobody. Now, God has given you the opportunity to learn and rectify also your own mistakes. And the best key to moving forward is choosing to forgive anyone who has hurt you in life, because when you are bitter and when you are full of revenge and unforgiveness, you cannot be helped, you cannot be treated, you may die and lose it all. But once you choose to do away with bitterness, once you choose to do wonders for God, and God will use you to do what I cannot do. God will sharpen you to be able to rise to higher levels and reach out men who are perishing in the world.
Yesu tuondole kumbele zako, Yesu tukiomba, haleluya, wewe unaweza. Tabu na kusumbuka, Yesu tuondole.